Welcome to Astro Babble. I'm Donna from Donna B Astrology.
And I'm Lynda from Scallywag Astrology.
We are talking about retrograde planets, and we are starting this podcast for the second time for our Mercury one.
Yes, Mercury Retrograde. We're in the shadow period at the moment, and it shows.
It does. Couple of starts, but yeah, let's get into it because it's very, very interesting. Do you have a diagram on how we can kind of explain this to people? Because the planets actually don't go backwards, but when they get to the end of an elliptical, which is not a round circle, it's more of a oblong thing. When they get to the end of it, they seem to go backwards. For the outer planets. For the inner planets, they look a little different.
Yeah, they do. Do you want to allow me to share screen?
All right.
Okay. So I've got a couple of diagrams here. So this one is from NASA. They do allow you to use them. And we have the sun in the middle. The middle, we have the orbit of Mercury or Venus, both of which are inferior planets because they're between us and the sun. And then on the outside, we have the sun. I mean, no, we don't. We have the Earth. So the start of Mercury cycle is the superior conjunction, when the Earth and Mercury and the sun are all in a line there. So Mercury is as far away from the Earth as it can be at that time. It's opposite it. Because Mercury starts really fast, it comes up, overtakes the sun, keeps going till it gets to the eastern elongation. That's as far away as it can possibly get. And about this time, Venus appears in the sky as an evening star. And then about a week later, it stations retrograde, which is this dark purple shading here. Goes for about 22 days. Halfway through, the sun catches up to that Mercury. Mercury's going backwards, the sun's going forward, so they're mutually applying to each other. They have that inferior conjunction, which happens when the sun and Mercury meet together when Mercury's retrograde. Then the sun keeps going, Mercury keeps going backwards. And about 10 days after that, it will station direct, at which time the sun will have moved far enough forward that Mercury is visible. It will be visible for about a week, and then it will reach the western elongation. And at that time, it will be the morning star. Between when it stations direct and the western elongation, it is a morning star. And that's the other side where it's as far away from the sun as it can get. And then it will start to speed up again till it overtakes the sun again, which that's all very well for some people, but we're also going to show it on Solify too, because I think it's a little bit easier to see. So let me stop sharing there.
Right. So when we're talking about it, when we say it's conjunct, it's when they're in a line. So that superior conjunction, we'll call it a conjunction.
So with this diagram, we've got 3 glyphs on here. We've got the sun, which is this circle with a dot. You got Mercury, which is like a man with a little hat. It's a purple one. And then we've got one down here to represent Earth. So round about the 2nd of April, 2022, because what's today, Donna?
May 3rd, yeah.
Back in the 2nd of April, 2022, the sun and Mercury were at 12 degrees Aries. So they were conjunct, and this is a superior conjunction, and it's starting a whole new cycle. Donna, I'm going to advance it. Do you want to just tell people what's happening?
Okay, I'll try my best. Okay, so the cycle starts at the farthest part, and that's the Synodic cycle, and it continues to go through. The Mercury is separating from the sun.
Yeah, it's moving a lot faster than the sun at this stage.
Yep. Right about in a few days, that's when the shadow part starts. So when that shadow part part started at the end of April. Yeah, right there. That's where the Mercury will go back to once it's gone through the retrograde stage. So this is called the shadow period. That being said, you start to feel what Mercury is, the energy of what Mercury is doing. You'll run into snafus. You'll have to go back to the store for ingredients. You could get delayed in travel. Communications can get mixed up. You'll start to feel that during that shadow period.
Yeah, I mean, this is a podcast we're doing, which is going to be a general podcast for Mercury retrograde. But for example, with this one, Mercury is going to be retrograde from the 10th of May to the 3rd of June, 2022.
Right.
It will retrograde at 4 degrees of Gemini, and it will go all the way back to 26 Taurus. So you can see this here. It's 26 Taurus, and it's in direct motion. It's not retrograde at the time, and that's on the 26th of April. And it will be another, I don't know, what's that?
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yeah, another 13 days or something until it will actually be retrograde. But during this period, you can kind of already get glitches as we're experiencing. And it will retrograde all the way back to, what did I say? It's going to retrograde back to 26 Taurus, because it will retrograde at 4 degrees of Gemini, go all the way back to 26 Taurus. It will stop there and start going forward again. But the retrograde shadow period doesn't finish until it actually passes that 4 degrees, till it gets back to where it was when it first started going retrograde.
This gives people a chance to redo whatever they were doing. If you were, doing something, it gives you a chance to revisit that event that you were supposed to learn something about, or get a lesson from it. That's the purpose of retrogrades, is they're meant to have you revisit an issue.
Yeah, you're literally going back over old ground. Mercury has just covered those degrees in the zodiac, and now it's like, oh, I forgot something. I better go back. I've got to go back and review that, redo it, re-edit, reevaluate. Re is a very good, anything that starts with re is very good during Mercury retrograde.
Yes. Restart.
Yes, restart. So yeah, so if you're watching on the video, you can see roundabout it's slowing down. That's what this S here means. It's slowing down, stationing, and then it will retrograde on the 10th.
Right.
You can see that it's still ahead of the sun at this time, but the sun is going to slowly start catching up, because Mercury is moving very slowly at this time until they get to the point where they have another conjunction, which looks like it's going to be about the 21st of May. And this is the inferior conjunction when Mercury is retrograde. You can see Earth is opposite here.
Yeah, you have us, then Mercury and the sun for the inferior, and for the superior conjunction, you're going to have us, the sun, and then Mercury is going to be the other side of the sun.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the inferior conjunction.
Yeah, which is still, when you got to remember, all those planets, those 3 bodies are still in a line. So that's a lot of energy, right there pointing at you.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Then the sun will pull ahead because Mercury is still going backwards. Sun will pull ahead until Mercury starts to slow down again, because it's going to change direction again.
Yeah, now it's stationing and it's going back in the direct motion. And
it's about this time that Mercury is far enough away from the sun, and it's at its most western elongation, and it appears as the morning star at this stage because it rises before the sun.
Yeah. So and that lasts about a week and a half?
About a week, I think, yeah. And then eventually
This is still that station, that shadow period that it was in. Now it is 4 or 5 degrees. We'll be out, we'll be clear of that retrograde kind of energy that we were in. So that's
Yes.
all the way till June 18th.
Yeah. What I think about with retrograde shadow, how I kind of explain it to people is like, you've left the house and you halfway to the store, you remember you've forgotten your wallet and you stop, and then you reverse, you backtrack. But, you know, just because you didn't start reversing, which is when the retrograde starts, your journey actually started when you left the house, even though you don't stop until about halfway, you know, to the store. You backtrack all the way. And when you get home, you pick up your wallet because you forgot it. And that's fine. Then you go forward again. So the retrograde's finished, but it doesn't really count until you caught up to where you stopped when you first, you know, were halfway to the shops and realized, oh, I haven't got my wallet. I've got to go back. That retro shadow period doesn't finish until you actually get to where you stop.
Where you remembered you forgot your wallet. Okay, well, we'll plug through this because it's this Mercury retrograde, and we're going to do that. It was frozen. Kind of
Yeah.
Mercury retrograde.
We're having a lot of fun here today, aren't we?
It is. It is.
We've had
but you know
smoke
what? That
alarms
is
going off.
it is
And
what
Donna
part of
getting
life
frozen.
is. Yeah.
Oh my. So yeah. And oh yes. Oh, that's what I wanted to show. I'm going to share screen again because I want to show you something pretty cool. So Mercury retrogrades, they tend to come in what we call elements. So we've got fire, earth, air, and water. But with the retrogrades, for about a 2-year period, they tend to go in elements. And it's a little bit like eclipses in that sometimes with eclipses, you only got 2 signs opposite each other. But sometimes, like we're currently in Taurus Scorpio eclipses, but like last year we had I can't remember whether, I think it was a Taurus eclipse, but it kind of snuck in with the Sagittarius and Gemini eclipses. And the same thing happens with this sometimes. But I just want to, we've currently got, in January 2022, we had a Mercury retrograde at 10 Aquarius. So say about there. Then in May, we're going to have one at 4 Gemini. Right. So say around about here. And then in September, we're going to have one in 8 Libra. So they're all going to be drawing like a triangle, like a grand trine. We're going
so those
to have
are all in air signs, right? The Aquarius is an air sign, the fixed air sign.
Yeah.
Libra is the cardinal, and Gemini is the mutable. So they're all the air signs.
Yeah, exactly.
Quite interesting.
And yeah, and oh, I've got a book here. It is Retrograde Planets by Erin Sullivan. Really interesting. A lot of information about the retrograde planets. That's where I found a lot of this information. But she says that when the retrogrades are happening in air signs, they tend to be about relationships. And, you know, your air signs are kind of a little bit more, not intellectual, but they're kind of thinking, rationalizing. That's kind of how they are. Your water signs are more emotional. Your fire signs are more passionate, generally speaking. Your earth signs are more after stability in that. But yeah, so that's your air signs. And then next year, we're going to have a Mercury retrograde at about 24 Capricorn. So let's say about there, 20. Why is that not working?
Because it's Mercury.
24 Capricorn. Yeah, it's going to be one of those nights. 24 Capricorn. Then in April, we're going to have one in about 15 Taurus. And then in August at 21 Virgo. So
that'll be all in earth signs next year?
Yeah. Yeah, you're looking forward to that, aren't you?
Definitely.
And then let's have a look. We'll have
all in the fire signs.
Yes, the fire signs. So let's say Aries to Leo to Sag,
Edge.
and back to Aries. And then we need a water sign after that.
Yeah.
So let's say Pisces
To
to
Cancer.
Scorpio.
Very cool.
So yeah, I mean, you know, my drawing isn't exactly right, but it's interesting that they go like that. But yeah, with water, apparently when the retrogrades are on water signs, we tend to be more about our quality of life, things to do with habits and emotional responses. With air, tends to be about relationships, thinking and analysis. With earth signs, it tends to be tangible results. We're focused on security and practical things, practical matters. And with fire signs, we tend to be about inspiration for the future. So things like creative stuff. So yeah, I thought that was interesting.
That is very interesting.
It will come down to you know, what's in your chart, and you know, if it's hitting anything, you know, if you've got Mercury stationing on a natal planet or opposite it, or you know, square it,
Aspecting
could
it
be quite interesting.
by any means, whether it's a conjunction, a square, an opposite, it will affect
And I'd
you.
say pretty, I would keep those that what we call an orb. So like this one coming up at May, so it's going to be for Gemini, it's going to go back to 26 Taurus, which is an interesting degree, isn't it, Donna?
It is a very interesting degree. It's where Algol resides, which is a mean star. not that it lashes out at you, but it a lot of things when planets hit that particular star, a lot of rough things can happen. A lot of violent. It's known to be a violent star. It's actually the head of Medusa. It's the eye, which I think we've talked about before. It actually blinks every either 6 minutes or 60 seconds. It has something to do with six, but it looks like it's blinking. If you watch it for a while, it does actually, it gets less bright. It looks like it's winking at you.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's
I don't know if it's visible down here. I'll have to check that out.
Well, look for the head of Medusa, because that's where it is.
Okay. I will. I'll look that up and I'll find out. And it's also going to be, because like I said, this is what, May 2022. We're going to have on May 16th, we're going to have an eclipse at 26 Scorpio opposite. So, and then around about, what did we say, what date? The 3rd of June. So yeah, what's that?
Is when it comes, is when it
gets out afterwards. Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see what happens there, if it's got kind of any linking with that eclipse.
It will be very interesting to see, because it is hitting that star by opposition, because it's going to be coming from,
yeah,
of course the sun's going to be directly on it, but it is like going to be a lunar eclipse.
But yeah, it'll be kind of maybe triggering something with that degree, because with eclipses, sometimes when Mars or Saturn kind of passes over the eclipse degree, they say it can trigger things. So I don't know about stationary planets, but the fact that they're stationary, you've spoken about this before about planets. It's a bit like, you know, ironing something backwards and forward, you know. And I kind of think of it like, for some reason, I've got this car analogy. I think it's Mercury in the 3rd for me, but it's like, you know, if a car drives past your house, you might not notice, you know, you might know it's a white car. But I mean, if it's sitting outside your house for a couple of days, you're probably going to pay a bit more attention. It's a bit like that when a planet is stationary, you know, or it appears to be stationary. It's slow. It's kind of putting an emphasis on that planet, because, you know, Mercury moves pretty fast. Usually it might move, you know, over within, you know, in a day sort of thing, whereas it might be sitting there for 2 or 3 days, you know. So, and it's, you know, probably going to go forward and come back, and yeah. So was there something else I was going to say?
Yeah, when like for this particular retrograde, it's going to happen in Taurus and Gemini. But if Mercury is your time lord, and we'll do an episode for annual perfections, and if Mercury happens to be your time lord, this is going to be a particular time when it might affect you more stronger than it normally would.
Yeah,
it'll affect you stronger than the average other person. And if you don't have anything to do with any of the places where Mercury is going to be at, if you don't have anything aspecting those points, or it might not even affect you at all. I mean, I've gone through many retrogrades and I didn't even know that they existed. Well, I knew they existed, but I didn't, know that they were going to affect me.
Yeah.
But if they weren't affecting any of my houses or any of my points there, it can go unnoticed. But if it is aspecting your chart in any way and hitting any of your points, it probably will. And I want to say that this particular one very well might, because it's on that Algol star, you'll probably hear of something that happened, with somebody else or in the news. I would think from that, because it's that specific point.
Yeah, losing your head, not a really good thing. So,
yeah.
So yeah, we were saying about Mercury retrograde. They tend to kind of, they're moving through a house. And in the case of like this one, like Donna was saying, it's going to start in Gemini, it's going to go back into Taurus. So you're going to have two houses in the that are being emphasized. So you might feel a change halfway through that retrograde period. It might start off with, say, third house matters and then move into second house matters, or, seventh house and move into sixth house. But yeah, but we're just going to run through what Mercury retrograde through the houses can mean.
That sounds good.
So do you want to start off for?
Okay, so if it happens to be in your first house, you're going to be changing or redoing things that you were doing for yourself. If you maybe got a haircut about a week or two ago and really, your bangs weren't quite short enough and you have to go back and get them reshortened, that would be a Mercury signification. Anything that you would redo. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you do your nails, chances are you're going to be redoing them because you're going to probably spot them or something.
Yeah. Probably not a good time to do a big major revamp of your image, but it can be a really good time to research what you want done and all that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, that research, that
Yeah. And if this is happening in your second house, this is your house of income, finances, and resources. So, maybe a good idea to check your pay stub, make sure you're getting paid correctly. If you put in overtime, make sure that they actually pay you the overtime. If you're at the shops, you're using cash, make sure they give you the correct change or that they didn't double charge you on your card, that sort of thing. Yeah. Oh, and if you're buying things, so, buying something, make sure you keep the receipt in case you need to take it back. Oh,
yeah, because you would restock it if you were at the store, you'll be restocking it. Yeah, so on the third house, if it happens to be hitting your third house or, a planet is aspecting it that way, it's going to have to do with your community. So you might be redoing some errands that you had already planned. If you went to the cleaners, you didn't have everything with you, you would have to go back and retake something back to, the cleaners or whatever your errands would be. You would be redoing them.
Yeah.
Maybe retaking a test if you were like in school.
Yeah. Actually, and of course, like short trips in this. So, sometimes flat tires or things wrong with the car and electronics and that. So like, make sure everything's backed up and yeah.
Definitely with the transportation. Yeah, anything. I mean, we say redo things, but it could also just be plain old snafus that just come at you sideways, and you're like, why did that happen? You're Mercury retrograde. That's why that happened.
And if this is happening in your 4th house, this is your house of home and your living situation. It's also real estate. It's also family. So it could be parents, and that could be long lost relatives pop up at this time. You mightn't have seen them for years and suddenly they're back in your life for a short amount of time. If you're, selling, buying real estate, signing a lease, something like that, just make sure, you're aware of all the facts. Just, don't just kind of sign without looking. Make sure you know exactly what you're doing, because maybe there's something that you just haven't been paying attention. So make sure to review.
That's some really good advice. And if it happens to do with in the 5th house, this is going to have to do with your kids or things that you recreate, or the things that you create. So probably if you were working at a painting, you're probably going to want to redo like a spot that isn't sitting well with you. Or if your kids are living with you, they're going to be redoing things, or they might be removing back into your house. So those could be all those Mercury retrograde kind of things.
Yeah, good time for editing or going back and redoing something. Yeah, like, if you've put it aside, now's a good time to come back and look at it with fresh eyes, sort of thing.
Yes.
And if this is in your 6th house, this is your house of illness. It's also pets and work for others, service for others. So this could be, I've seen this like, paperwork and that. I remember taking my daughter she had to get some tests, and we got there and it's like, oh, I don't have the paperwork. So I had to go back and get the paperwork. I've known people that have had to go back to have, like a mammogram redone because, the results weren't quite right, sort of thing. Yeah, so that sort of thing can happen. You might see old work colleagues or people that used to work for you at this time.
Or redo a surgery if you have,
Yeah, that's a distinct possibility. Yeah,
that kind of issue might come up during our retrograde.
Yeah.
So moving on to the 7th house, that could have to do with if you are out. Those are the one-on-one relationships. So you might have somebody who was an old relationship come back into your life, which is, one of the significations. Or you could, redo your wedding vows. Might come up.
Oh, nice. I like that. I like that a lot.
During a retrograde. Yeah. So yeah, stuff like that.
And if this is happening in your 8th house, this is the house of other people's money. So this can be inheritances, it can be wills, it can be loans, it can be debts, it can be financial agreements. So you want to make sure that everything's, as it should be. You're not signing paperwork that, you're not fully aware of what's happening. You also want to make sure, you don't want to make sure, you might find that there's delays, setbacks. You think everything's going right, but oh no, this person hasn't signed this. So you got to go back and get them to do this, or, somebody's missed something, or it's under a whole heap of paperwork and just been missed, that sort of thing.
Yeah. This is a good time to just recheck and make sure that everything is there, when you go in for any appointments. So if it happens to be in your 9th house, you might be redoing tests, and it has to do with higher education and travel. You could get a lot of snafus if you're doing foreign travel. I know, Lynda, you have quite a story.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the higher education.
Yeah. Yes. 40 hours in transit. But yeah, don't travel during Mercury retrograde in your 9th house. And if this is happening in the 10th house, you might be seeing old bosses. You might be running into people you used to work with. because this is the house of career and public reputation. Could be, you know, maybe you're being honored for something that you did before. It's come back now, you know, you put some good out into the world and now it's rebounded. Yeah.
Oh, cool. And then in your 11th house, this is your house of groups of people. So you might want to get everybody back together, especially during, you know, after the couple of years we've had, you know, where you're reconnecting with groups of people. You're finally able to do that. So that would be a very good positive aspect.
Really nice. Yeah.
I would
also
definitely
good to, if you've kind of had, you know, a special hope or dream that you've been working towards, but you put it aside, maybe a good time to go back and revisit that, see just how achievable it might be.
Yeah.
And if this is happening in your 12th house, this is the house of your undoing. So it could be issues to do with addictions or mental illness or self-defeating habits, escapism, you know, little things like that, or maybe not so little, things like that might come back. There might be a relapse perhaps, or maybe you're going back, you know, trying to overcome that. Also the places of confinement and such as hospitals or prisons. So perhaps you meet somebody that you haven't seen for a while that you knew through one of those institutions or a monastery or a place of retreat, something like that. So yeah.
Very good. Or a good time to sequester yourself and redo a project you were trying to do.
So that's the other thing. Yeah, because the 12th house can often be a good time to do things behind the scenes. And apparently with the retrograde, they can kind of muck with things. So maybe not the best time to be planning behind the scenes, but what can you do?
It is Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
You'll be doing it twice.
And I mean, it happens about 3 times every 13 months or so. So it's about every 4 months, which is, you know, every 4 months fits in with why they have that elemental relationship. So because, you know, the signs of 4 signs
all in
apart.
earth, all in air, all in fire, all in water.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So,
that is definitely something I'm going to keep my eye open on for, you know, on how those are affecting that element.
Yeah.
We will be doing a obviously we will be doing a annual Profections episode pretty soon, because, you know, things don't happen if it's not the right time. You know, your grandmother said timing is everything, or your grandfather said timing is everything, or your parents. This is why. If it's not activated, it's probably not going to happen. So we really need to do one of those.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll do that one next. I mean, what have we got to do next? We've got to do another, must be what, the new moon in, what are we up to? Must be Gemini coming up.
Yeah, at the end of May.
So yeah, we'll have to do that, and then maybe we'll do the annual Profections. But what I have noticed with, say, people that have Mercury as Lord of the Year, sometimes when it's stationed, sometimes it's not on the actual day it stations, but it's still the degree. So that degree is, you know, it can be really, really strong. So
very cool.
Yes, we've had an eventful recording. We had smoke alarms going off within like minutes, and then yeah, we've had lots of things. Donna froze for a little while.
It did.
Yeah. So yeah.
But you know what? You still have to plug along. I mean, just because the planets are not favorable to you doesn't mean you should just give up or stop your life. You just need to plug along and expect them and ride the punches. Yeah.
And I mean, like, as we said, we're in this Mercury shadow period. I was supposed to meet a friend today, and yeah, just didn't happen because, yeah, just not good. Traffic, this, that. So you're looking absolutely shocked and appalled there, Donna.
I just had a couple things flash on my screen, and I'm not quite sure. I've never seen them before do that.
Oh,
so
that's not a good sign.
Well, if it flashes on the screen, it's
okay. Fair enough.
It is a Mercury, as we were saying, it's a Mercury retrograde, and you just have to, if you know about it ahead of time, and can plan ahead to sit down and redo that painting, or re-go over your if you haven't been through your email, and good to do that and redo, get your life in order. This is a good time to reorganize your life. This is a good time to reorganize a pantry. It's a good time to reorganize the closet, your dresser, your life, your love life, whatever.
Well, no, do not take him back. Or her. Yeah. If an ex comes back into your life, it's probably not the best time to be thinking about it. See if you still feel the same way after the retrograde period.
Right. Yeah. Because chances are, it's went south for a reason.
Yeah. So yeah, but it can be fake. Yeah, well, I don't know if I call it a fun time, but yeah, what can you do? You just got to laugh and just kind of keep your wits about you.
Well, know that it's coming, and this is the energy that it's trying to teach you. That's I mean, you're on this planet to learn, and you're on the planet to work with other people. So how you can get the best representation of yourself is what you're trying to do, as far as I'm concerned. That's my philosophy.
No, I think that's a good one. And that's what I've heard too, that you might have done something, just say you were doing a report, and the computer just goes, everything's gone, it didn't auto save, so you've got to rewrite it, but maybe you write it better, and it's better than the original. That's what they say, that sometimes by having to redo or go over, or you wanted to go to the store to buy this and it wasn't the right one, or you had to take it back because it didn't work, and so you get a better one. I mean, sometimes
so you're saying
like the planet, for a reason.
You're saying the planets didn't like this version, just throw it out.
Get rid of this. Yeah, okay, fine.
Start again.
It sounds very Mars-like.
It did seem like Mars. Speaking of Mars, I'm glad you said that, because Mars is where Mercury is retrograding this particular one, and it does it 3 times a year, so this isn't that special, but it is special in regards to Mars is going to be on or in that sign for 6 months, which is way longer than it normally is in a sign, like 3 times longer than it is normally in a sign. Mars is a pretty quick planet as well, but it's going to be in Gemini for 6 months, or very close to it. So get familiar with that Gemini energy. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, August 20, I think. Mars is going to go into Gemini, and I think it's in there till like January 2023 or something. That's a long time. Yeah, it might be even longer.
It is. Yeah. So
get used to Gemini. Whatever house Gemini's in, it's going to be fun.
It's being noticed. It's being noticed by the planets, and the planets want you to do something with that house.
Well, this might be a good time to kind of prepare for that retrograde Mars that is coming up, because get your house in order, whatever house Gemini is in, and because when Mars gets in there, it's going to be frustrated, because Mars just wants to go ahead, wants to move forward, and it's going to be kind of like having to go back over old ground. So he's going to get very cranky. So if you can kind of pave the way a little bit during this Mercury retrograde, maybe it will be helpful.
Yeah, make sure all your ducks are in a row, especially when it has to do with your Gemini house, wherever that is falling in your natal chart. It would be it'd be advisable to take a look and make sure that you have that house in order, because I think that's what Mercury's doing. Going over it, making sure it's all wiped clean.
It's making me think of, like, the herald, or like the page that goes ahead, because I mean Mercury's the messenger and that, but yeah, I just getting a image of like Mercury going ahead and saying, yep, Mars is coming. or get your house in order.
Yeah, I would think so. Well, we have scouts, you go up ahead before you bring the major energy behind, or the traveling party. You have a scout up ahead to make sure there's if there's rivers to be crossed, give people a heads up. So this very well might be a heads up.
Yeah. I'm curious if Mercury and Mars do kind of travel in some sort of, I don't know, probably not, maybe, who knows. But that's what I love about astrology. It's like,
yeah, you wonder, like, I wonder if there's any connection. I'm just gonna guess, yes, there is a connection. That's that's just me, but I think there is.
Yeah,
I'm finding out there's a connection more often than not.
Yeah, all these different cycles, and that's what's so fascinating about astrology, and when those cycles collide.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So
anyway, where can people contact you, Donna? Where can they find you?
You can contact me at donnabarconsulting@gmail.com. I also have a website, donnabastrology.com, and you can read all kinds of my views on what I think the planets do. I also work with crystals. I have some crystal information there too. Yeah.
I've got a question.
Go ahead.
Is there a crystal that can help with Mercury retrograde?
There would be. I don't have one right with me. Well, you know what? Actually, all of them.
Well, I'm just wondering too.
Oh yeah, I do.
Whether, like, the different type of what element it is. So, like, we're in air sign retrogrades at the moment. Whether it would be a slightly different crystal for the different element retrogrades.
No, I have more supportive crystals. That would help the symptoms. Okay, so this, like, fluorite would help with focus.
Okay. Yep.
Purpley. Lepidolite calms you down. This helps you breathe easier. It's keeps you moisturized, like if you have a sunburn like I do. The mercurial stones are the element Mercury would definitely support Mercury. I wouldn't take it out of the thermometer that you might find Mercury in, because it is toxic. So a lot of there's a few. There's another what I call a Mercury stone. It's called cinnabrite, and I call it my Mercury stone. I used it to do a lot of my writing on original writing on my website, which I really need to redo because it's Mercury retrograde and my website hasn't been I haven't rewritten my intro in 3 years. So I'll probably be working on that. Speaking of retrograde, what are you doing with how can people contact you, Lynda?
I'm at Scullywag Astrology. That's astrology.scullywag.com. on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Yeah, I'm doing readings, natal readings, relationship readings, year ahead. We can do the annual perfections for you, tell you what planets to look out for. Yeah, and that's about it.
And if you know your time and birthplace, you can get a hold of either Lynda or I to help you find out where that Gemini house is for you.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah.
And we'd be happy to help you with your chart.
Yeah. Yes. It's a very jumpy energy, isn't it, Donna?
Yeah, I think it is.
I'm jumpy.
Mercury is not known to be settled.
Well, yeah, and we're currently between eclipses too, which doesn't help.
No.
As we're recording this, so yeah.
Yeah, I had the sun right on my ascendant, which gave me the burnt face just 3 days ago. No. Yeah, still not recovered.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening. Yeah, please like, share, rate, follow.
And comment.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for watching.
Tell us if you know where Mercury is in your chart, where Mercury is in your chart, where Gemini is in your chart, and yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.